not a fish, but I have a catfish story for you guys. Hey guys, it's V. So today I am doing a story time video. Have I ever done one of these? Yes. I have done like one other one. I believe I did like my wisdom teeth removal story because that was a pretty traumatic experience that I went through. And yeah, so I'm not much of a story time YouTuber. I don't do them very often, but this one was pretty crazy. And so I, since it kind of has something to do with, you know, times now, like this happens a lot more often than it happened when it happened to me. This actually happened to me before Catfish was even called Catfish, so yeah. And I know that quite a few of you have been wondering about this story because I have mentioned it a couple of times. So before I get into it, let me just tell you that this kind of a story time requires a lot of pre-story. I'm not just gonna say, okay, this person catfished me and that's it, that's the end of the story. This requires a little bit of building up, so if you get bored, I'm very sorry, but it requires it in order for me to tell the entire story, so I'm sorry about that. And I just want to say as a disclaimer that anything in this video, I don't mean to be offensive, I don't mean to be rude, I'm just telling you guys the story exactly how it happened to me. And so, you know, just keep that in mind when you're watching because, you know, I'm just telling you guys my story. I remember seeing this quote on Pinterest and I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, but it said something like, if people didn't want you to write about them, they should have been nicer to you, or something like that, because these are my stories and this is how I'm telling it, the way that it happened to me, so just keep that in mind. So I was catfished by someone very, very close to me. Like I said, this was something that happened before Catfish was called Catfish, before it was a well-known thing that people were doing. Obviously, you know, in the world, like catfish has been a very deceptive thing for a long time now. People have lied about things on the internet since the internet has begun. It's not like it was something that wasn't known about, but back in the days, the MySpace days, which is when this happened to me, it wasn't as big as it is now. There's a couple people that factor into this story, so I will be using fake names for those people just because, yeah, I don't want to say their real names because that's rude and some of my friends might be watching this. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think any of my friends watch my videos, but if they did, anyone who is my close friend already knows that this happened to me and they were a part of it while it was happening to me. So when I was in high school, I was a freshman in high school when this happened to me specifically. So this was around like 2007, I believe, was when I was a freshman in high school. So starting from the beginning, I had a very close friend who I was close with since like 6th grade, and for name purposes in this video, let's name her Jade. Let's go with that because I like that name. So Jade. Jade was one of my best friends. I used to sleep over at her house all the freaking time. It was so much fun. We used to watch movies. We used to do awesome fun makeup on each other. Like, we were really, really close friends and we had been through a lot together. Boyfriends, you know, all that kind of stuff we had been through together. And so like I said, this started back in MySpace days. So I had a MySpace account. I wasn't supposed to have a MySpace account. I was a very rebellious teenager. Not really, but I had a MySpace account and she had a MySpace account and all of our friends had MySpace accounts. We got the top 8 going on. Y'all know how it went back then. If you weren't on the top 8, you were nothing. But yeah, so we had the MySpace top 8 going on. So at this time, me and Jade, neither one of us had a boyfriend, and she actually did an extracurricular activity. Let's call it karate. She did a karate extracurricular and she used to go to karate class. I never went with her to karate class, therefore I didn't know who was in her karate class. I knew nothing about it. So she recently started dating a kid from her karate class, which she told me his name was, let's say, Nate. She started dating Nate, and so she added him on MySpace. He had a really, really cute picture. It was like, okay, look, another preface. This was back in like teeny weeny days, okay? So every boy had like super swoopy hair covering his eyes, sometimes wore eyeliner. I loved that back then, so I was okay with it. So he had like black hair and it was like super swoopy, like this kind of thing over his eyes. It was a picture of him like just far away, kind of a scenic picture of him on a sidewalk, and I remember he was wearing bright red high-top Converse and skinny jeans, and I mean, he was sexy. I'm not gonna lie, he was super sexy. And so she started dating Nate, and so he was #1 on her MySpace. He was online every once in a while. Do you guys remember this? Like, when I think back to MySpace, I just think back to like how you knew someone was online. It had that little like thing that like just like, what was it, like pulsed kind of, and it said online now, and you were all so excited when your crush got online because you would be like waiting to type a message to them. And oh my gosh, back in the MySpace days, things were so simple back in MySpace days. So Jade was dating Nate, and they had been dating for a couple of weeks, and I still didn't have a boyfriend at this time. I was super jelly. She was dating this super hot scene kid that I just, you know, I would die to date someone like that. And so she actually said that Nate had a best friend, and let's say the best friend's name was David. Okay, so David. So Jade tells me that Nate said that David is single and he's, you know, looking for someone. And so I just was like, yeah, absolutely, tell him to add me on MySpace. And so he added me on MySpace. He was so cute. He had, again, like the super swooshy hair. His was like a light brown. He had the snake bites. He had like bright, like hazily eyes, I think, if I remember correctly. I mean, just like everything I would have ever wanted. Let's be real. Like back in the day, that was my go-to. That was my type. That was everything that I wanted to date, was super sceney weenie skater kids. So Nate had David add me on MySpace, and me and David started talking quite a bit. I remember he commented on like every single one of my MySpace pictures, like with super cute like quotes. Like one I remember specifically, the quote that I had under my picture was, "I'm not gonna write you a love song." You know that song, "I'm not gonna write you a love song if you ask for it, 'cause you need one." You know, that song. So yeah, and I remember specifically he commented on that one and said, "I would write you a love song even if you didn't ask for it." And I just remember that, like every time I hear that song, I think of that comment that he left on my MySpace. And I remember what picture it was too. It was like this stupid edited picture. We're just very into the extreme brightness and contrast. Y'all know how that went back then. So yeah, he commented on all of my pictures, and we talked for weeks. We talked for probably a good, like, I don't know, like month and a half or so. And then something terrible happened. Jade was still dating Nate, and Jade called me and she said that Nate got a really scary phone call from David saying that he was just really depressed, and that he was talking about committing suicide, and that he was just really sad. And that same night, Nate told Jade that he ended up committing suicide. So needless to say, 14-year-old me was crushed. I was crushed. That night, I cried and I cried and I cried, and I remember talking on the phone with Jade and just saying, how could he do this? We've been talking. He hadn't made any kind of inkling that he was going through anything like this. I mean, we just had talked for such a long time. And I don't know if I ever mentioned, but I had never met Nate and I had never met David as well. It was just all through MySpace, and Jade had posted this picture of her kissing Nate on her page, and it was like he was holding a guitar and kissing her, and so it looked pretty legit, but I couldn't exactly tell that it was Jade in the picture from what, you know, what it looked like. It kind of looked like her, but kind of not. And so when that happened, that was the only time in my life that I was ever so sad that I harmed myself. And I harmed myself, and Jade knew that that happened, and Jade knew that because of that happening with David, that caused me to do that. And looking back on it now, it was so stupid, and it was just for attention. And I'm not saying that that's what everybody does, but for my situation and for me, it was just for attention. It's because I was sad. It's because I didn't understand. It's because I didn't know what was happening. I just wanted to hurt how he hurt. I just wanted to understand why someone would do something like that. I didn't do anything I didn't do anything suicidal at all. I did not do anything suicidal. I didn't do anything serious to my body, but I did harm myself, and it just was really, really terrible. And she knew that happened to me, and so a little while after that, she eventually kind of started not talking about Nate as much. And when the whole thing happened with David, she actually handed me a note that David had written me and left for me. And I don't remember what the note said, but I do remember that she also, for one, gave me a little stuffed animal. It was like one of those mini Beanie Babies, and it was a white tiger. She gave me that, and she gave me the note, and I remember the note looking very, very, very similar to Jade's handwriting. And so that kind of threw up a red flag for me quite a bit, because why would David, a random kid who's best friends with someone she met at karate class, have similar handwriting to one of my friends that I've been best friends with for like 3 or 4 years at this point? And so me and one of my other friends, let's go with Chelsea. One of my other friends, Chelsea, and I were a little suspicious of this situation, and so we kind of did a little bit of digging, and we went on PhotoBucket. Yep, PhotoBucket. MySpace and PhotoBucket, you guys. These things were pretty crazy back then. That's what we used, was PhotoBucket and MySpace. And we typed in on PhotoBucket, cute scene boys, cute emo boys, you know, just to look at the pictures of the boys that popped up. And crazy enough, we found just a random picture of Nate on there. And so we thought that was kind of weird, because why would Nate have just a random picture when you type in cute scene boys on PhotoBucket? And we ended up looking through again, and we just kept looking and kind of digging, and then we also found the same picture of David when we searched that topic. And so we thought that that was pretty odd. And we also found the picture that I mentioned earlier of Jade kissing Nate on there. We found that. We found another picture of David, literally just from searching like different platforms. We also looked on Google search. We looked on like other MySpace profiles. So basically what we conducted from this was that neither Nate or David were real. And when we finally figured this out, the thing that I really just couldn't understand was why. Why did she do this? Why did she talk to me? Why did she bring me into this situation? Why did she pull me down? And why did she fake a suicide of the person that I was talking to, that I had gotten so close with? Why did she do this? Why? And so eventually me and Chelsea confronted her over the phone, not in person. That was probably a mistake, because we probably should have done it in person. But like I said, we were freshmen in high school, you know, whatever, dramatic. But so we confronted her over the phone, and I honestly, like, it's kind of a blur that whole day. Like, I don't exactly remember what happened, but what I do remember happening is when we confronted her, the way that her house was, she had a bathroom attached to her bedroom. Lucky. I wish that I had that growing up. I didn't until after high school. But she had a bedroom attached to her bathroom, and apparently she locked herself in her bathroom, and she was hysteric, and she was not making any sense, and she was sounding crazy, and she was kind of blaming the whole situation on the fact that she had something wrong with her, and that there was something going on in her brain that didn't make sense. And you know, back in these kind of days, like my freshman high school days, I didn't really know much about like mental disorders. I didn't know anything about mental disorders, honestly. I've talked about this before. I was kind of like, I wasn't informed about that kind of stuff really when I was younger. In a way, I feel like it's much better now that it's kind of more widely known about through social media and things like that, because at least people understand what's wrong with them and what's going on inside of their head, and that it's not all their fault. But back then I had no idea what that kind of thing was, and so she really just blamed it on just being crazy. And we didn't talk. I just got really, like, I didn't exactly, like, you know, scream at her or anything like that. We just kind of said, look, Jade, we found these pictures of the boys that you said that you knew just randomly on the internet, and we know that they're not real, and we know that you lied to us and we just want to know why. And like I said, that's when she got all hysteric and just crazy, and we didn't talk. We didn't talk for a couple of years after that. Because I couldn't trust her, obviously. I mean, someone that could do that to one of their best friends, it just didn't make any sense to me how someone could do that. So that is what happened. I never got a real reason why she did it. I never got any kind of anything from her about like why she would even think to do something like this to one of her best friends. I don't understand it to this day. I don't understand it to this day. It still makes no sense to me. I'm sorry for SB cleaning herself in the background. I didn't want to move her. She looks so comfy. So that is my crazy catfish story about my best friend catfishing me and lying to me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to show some love to the like button down there, and if you subscribe, you can be a member of my Muse family, and I love you guys so much. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye guys!